It's time for your Low Country Real Estate Market Update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-400-8009. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston, and welcome to another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. 8 years I've been on this program, giving you my expert opinion of the real estate market, helping you become prepared for when it comes time for you to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. I take my experience as someone that's sold real estate here in Charleston for the past 16 years, about $1 billion worth of real estate volume under my belt. So I provide you with my understanding of the market and the process, and of course share with you what's happening in the world today and how that relates to us here in the Low Country so that you are a prepared and informed consumer. So got a lot planned today. I want to talk first and foremost about shifting markets. What causes a market shift? I'm having a lot more people ask, hey, how much longer do we think this market is going to be like this? What are we thinking for next year? What do we think is going to happen? And so I want to talk about what goes into a market shift. What do we look at? I want to talk about that. I want to talk about selling luxury real estate, and we've been blessed to have sold some very nice properties. It's a good portion of what we do. I want to talk about the luxury process a little bit and some tips on selling luxury real estate. And then I also want to talk about as-is sales. We're seeing more and more of those in this market. And then finally, I want to kind of end with something that we don't talk too much about, which is kind of some alternative methods for purchasing property for those that are maybe between jobs or they need to work on their credit a little bit. So we're going to talk about rent-to-own, lease options, and things like that. Maybe you've got a son or daughter that wants to buy their first home. They're not quite prepared to do so, but you want to get them in there. You want to get you want to get their foot in the door now. So we're going to talk about that. Now, one quick housekeeping item. My phone number has changed. I don't know about you guys, but I have gotten so much spam recently. It's incredible. I'm at the point where I'm getting a spam call every 20 minutes. It's ridiculous, and it's happening kind of across the country to everybody at this point. So, anyways, my phone number has changed. That new number is 843-800-0065. I'll get the guy that does my awesome intro. That was a horrible impersonation, by the way. But I'm going to get the guy that does the intro to change it as well. But it's 843-800-0065. That's my personal number. Call or text it. You can reach me anytime on that number. And, of course, you can go to our website, listingsincharleston.com. A lot of great information there. Find out how much your home is worth. Search the MLS. Learn more about my team. You can find out how many buyers we have for your home right now by filling out that home valuation report. We'll tell you how much your property is worth. And then we'll tell you how many people we have in our database right now that might be looking for something like what you want to sell. So without any further ado, let's get into, what causes a market shift. So market shifts really can best be analyzed by looking at the factors that influence supply and demand, which all have an overall impact on home prices. You could also look at it this way. Market shift incrementally because of trends within the specific market that you're analyzing. Those are the internal factors. You compare that to the macroeconomic indicators, which are the external factors. So when you're looking at supply, and again, we're just having so many folks that are asking us, what do we think is going to happen next year? There's a little uncertainty in the market right now, and that's kind of a dangerous place to be because both buyers and sellers want to know whether the market's going up or if it's going down. I think it's pretty safe to say that it's still going to go up for a little bit, but how much longer, we're not sure. But when we look at supply, we look at, the number of people that want or need to sell. And then we also look at the number of new housing starts, right? New construction. Supply impacts home prices and, of course, is one half of what we look at to measure the health and balance of a real estate market. But the other side is the demand side. There's a lot that goes into that. There's interest rates, economic growth, number of households and household formation trends. Availability of mortgages, affordability of housing. There's speculative demand, consumer confidence, geographic factors. And so let me just kind of touch on a few of those. Economic growth, demand for housing is dependent upon income. And we've talked a lot on this program about affordability and how I've been watching that very closely. With higher economic growth and rising incomes, people will be able to spend more on homes, which will then increase demand and push up prices. In fact, demand for housing is often noted to be what they call income elastic. It's a luxury good, whereas rising incomes leading to a bigger percentage of income being spent on houses. Now, similarly, in a recession, falling incomes will mean people just can't afford to buy, and those who lose their job may fall behind on their mortgage payments and end up with their home repossessed or doing a short sale or foreclosure, something like that. So you've got the economic growth side of things. And I think that there's obviously some uncertainty there, especially with inflation and the cost of everything being more expensive. And, let me say this. My wife does the grocery shopping in our house for good reason, because I always come home with a bunch of those random things. She's like, well, what is this for? She doesn't really complain, but I'm a little loose with the pocketbook at the grocery store. Let's just say that. So, but anyways, I was there and I was getting some supplies for the office, and I'm looking at simple things like, I needed toilet paper, $21 for, like a 36 pack of toilet paper. It's crazy how some prices have gone up on things, and it's across the board, which again impacts affordability. Now, we also look at things like unemployment, related to economic growth, of course, is unemployment. When unemployment is rising, fewer people are going to be able to afford a house. But, even the fear of unemployment can discourage people from entering into the property market. We're not there right now, but it's certainly something that we look at when we're determining whether a market's going to shift or not. Of course, a big one, a big discussion topic is interest rates. We keep hearing news that they're going to stay the same, they're going to go up. Are they going to go down? Probably not. But interest rates affect the cost of monthly mortgage payments, right? So a period of high interest rates will increase the cost of mortgage payments and are going to cause lower demand for buying a house. Whereas, and high interest rates make renting relatively more attractive compared to buying. But we've seen, especially in Charleston, that rents are going through the roof. Interest rates have a bigger impact if homeowners have large adjustable rate mortgages, especially if they purchase something speculatively, trying to time the market and take advantage of, perceived exponential appreciation over time. That's one of the reasons why land has been making this comeback after kind of being in the tank for a few years, especially in the Charleston area. And on my team, obviously in addition to helping people buy and sell homes, we sell a bunch of land. I mean, we get about 30 new land deals every month. And that's because prices have finally reached a point in many areas where people can finally make sense out of selling it. Of course, there's the other side of the equation with land, especially, which is all properties that got foreclosed on and were purchased for cheap, and those owners, having timed the market right, are now making a pretty penny on the sales price, now that they've shot back up. So now you're seeing a lot of investors dealing with land as well, because they've got the folks that, they've been holding on to it for, let's call it 10, sometimes 15 years. They watch the price hit the bottom. Now the price has gone back up. They can finally make sense out of selling it. They've weathered the storm. And because of the demand based on lack of supply in many price ranges, they're saying, all right, well, let's think outside the box. What can we buy and build? Maybe we can fill some inventory that way. Or a lot of folks are saying, we're finally in a position where we want to build our own home. We don't want to buy an existing property. And so you'll have a lot of investors out there that are hunting for land deals. We're one of them. But let's kind of switch gears here. Let's talk about consumer confidence. Confidence is important for determining whether people obviously want to take the risk of taking out a mortgage. In particular, expectations toward the housing market are important. If people fear house prices could fall, then they'll defer buying. We're not there yet, obviously, but that's a gauge to a shifting market, and that's one of the things that can make markets turn pretty quickly. I mean, we're seeing some doubt enter the minds of people as to how much longer this kind of market can last. They're seeing the other factors that go into, just the economics, rising gas prices, rising food prices, inflation across the board. And like I've been saying for quite a while on this program. Just because there are more dollars in circulation and therefore things cost more money doesn't mean that those dollars are landing in your pocket and that you have more of it to spend on things. That's the challenge. One of the other things to talk about in a shifting market is just the geographical factors. A lot of housing markets are highly geographical. For example, national house prices could be falling, but some areas, Charleston, as an example, might see rising prices still. And if you look at the trends just within Charleston, like I've studied over the past, 16 years, you would know that some areas of Charleston were hit harder by the market crash in 2008, and some areas of the market recovered much faster than others did, starting back in like 2012, 2013. We really saw some solid appreciation starting in 2014 in our market, but we've had multiple years of appreciation. Now, if you look at what's happened over the past, 2 years, with COVID, Charleston is a shining beacon on the map for places, or for people to move to here. We're seeing it from all over the country, really all over the world, quite frankly, and that's been the case for a long time. But now that we've got people that can work from home, they can live anywhere, we're seeing more and more people target Charleston. And so, yes, we are insulated. We have a lot of things going on for us economically, locally, and of course, it just being a beautiful and fantastic place to live or retire, whatever the case might be. We're going to have a lot of people that move to this area that will change the overall dynamic as it relates to whether we experience the same type of shift that other markets in this country will experience. And I don't think it's going to be as bad for us. It wasn't as bad for us as it was in other areas like, Vegas or Phoenix, parts of California. I mean, there's plenty of other markets, but I think we're going to be okay in the grand scheme of things. We have a lot going on for us here in Charleston, but we are starting to see some people kind of question how much longer this can last. And we're, of course, seeing a lot of people that are just irritated at the fact that things cost as much money as they do. You can't really change it. It's the reality. It is what it is. But we're also seeing people that are literally priced out of the market or that are kind of locked in their own home. Sure, they've got a bunch of equity, but they can't make sense out of moving to another location or to another home and feeling like they've won. And that's why it kind of goes back to just the deep-seated motivation to move at all. I mean, what is the reason for moving? It's probably not going to be, hey, I can sell high, but I also have to buy high right now. There's got to be something else that's causing the move other than, what we saw a few years ago when someone had maybe a 5% interest rate or 4.5% interest rate, and then they could go and buy a home for, $200,000 more at a 3% interest rate, have a nicer, bigger, better home for the same payment. That's gone away, and most people have taken advantage of low interest rates. People have refinanced, they've purchased, and now they're all benefiting to an extent from the lower interest rates that we have. So we're keeping a close eye on it. I think that next year is going to be kind of more the same for this year, just a watered down version of it. I don't think we've got, we're certainly not looking at 20% increase in prices. I'd be shocked if we got anywhere close to that. Double digits maybe, but for a lot of folks that are considering selling that have the ability to sell when they want to sell, I'm encouraging them to at least look at what their home is worth right now. Let's establish a benchmark price, and then let's monitor it over time. Real estate is local. It's hyper local. It's down to the street. It's what's happening in your neighborhood. I'll tell you a story when we come back about a home that I sold where we sold it for the highest price per square foot in the neighborhood. And then several other homes tried to get, well, I'll just tell you the story now. I sold our previous home before we bought the one that we've been in for the past 6.5 years for the highest price per square foot at that time in that neighborhood for comparable properties. It was a nice home. We did a nice job with it. And then a bunch of other people basically tried to use that as a benchmark to raise the asking price of all the other homes that would sell after ours. And one or two got close to it, but then it kind of fell off and it started to fall down. And the challenge that the people in that neighborhood was having was basically everybody in the market overpriced. Everybody in the neighborhood was an overpriced listing. They'd see other homes selling in other neighborhoods that are comparable, but it was because they were better priced. They were of better value to the buyer. So we're not necessarily seeing that right now across the board. It's obviously very situational, but if you're thinking of selling next year, I encourage you to at least establish a benchmark price. And if you're one of the folks that want to try and time the market, let's look for those opportunities. Let's look for those sales that, somebody sells their home and it's the highest price per square foot in the neighborhood, and we want to use that as a springboard to get that same price. The other flip side of that could be that you have one or two people that sell their home that were highly motivated, potentially in distress, and it brings down the value in that neighborhood. So think through that. If there's something that I can do to help you out, if you're thinking about selling your home, if you want an idea of what it's worth right now, if you want to start monitoring that value over time, we've got some awesome tools that can help you better understand that. If you put in things like your mortgage into this tool, then it'll tell you, if you make extra payments, how much faster you can buy down the principal balance of your mortgage. We can give you rental analysis, all kinds of great stuff. So if you want to reach out to me and have a discussion like that over the phone, my number is 843-800-0065. That's 843-800-0065. Or you can go online, listingsincharleston.com. Stick around, folks, for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. Expert news and views on the Lowcountry real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, folks, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I'm, of course, your host, Brian Beatty. And if you want to reach out to me, if you have a real estate question, if you're thinking of buying, selling, or investing in real estate, you want the help of a real estate agent, I'm happy to do that for you. Would love the opportunity to earn your business. My number is 843-800-0065. That's my personal number, 843-800-0065. Or, of course, you can check us out online, listingsincharleston.com. You can listen to this show Saturdays at 9, Sundays at 10, or on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, our website, all that great stuff. So appreciate you guys joining me this morning. I want to switch gears. I want to talk about some tips for selling luxury real estate. We sell a good bit of it. We've got a $5.5 million home that we're closing on in a few weeks. We've got a $3 million home we're closing on in a few weeks. We play in that arena fairly regularly. So these are some things that I've learned over time that I think might help, especially for those that are listening that are considering selling their home and it's a higher end home. So the first thing is just making the first impression and making it as good as you can possibly make it. And that's everything from enhancing the property's curb appeal with nice landscaping to rearranging the existing furniture. There's a lot that you can do to capture the interest of a buyer from the moment that they arrive for the first time. And having staged and shown countless homes, I can tell you what the turn-ons and the turn-offs are for buyers, in my opinion, and staging a home correctly can make or break the success of a sale. That's why we have, a lovely lady that will come, they'll come out at my expense and they'll spend time with you and they'll walk through your home room by room. It doesn't have to be a luxury home, by the way, for us to offer this service to you. We do it at no cost for any of our sellers that feel need it. But she'll walk through the house room by room with you and she'll say, here's what you can do. Here's what you should do. Here's what I would not do. And it's really helpful. It gives you a nice little to-do list and some things that you can do. We do that before we take photos so that we're capturing the property in its best light when we market it to other buyers. But outside of staging, buyers don't want to inherit a project, especially even in a market like this. Now, I was going to say especially, but even in a market like this, there are buyers that are willing to overlook certain things in the high-end market, not as much because time is money, and the more things they have to do, the less interested they become. If they feel like they're going to have to put a bunch of money into the house, they're going to want a discount for their effort and their time. Look at your competition, see how those homes are presented, and if there are things you can do to match or look better than your competition, then those are things you discuss and hopefully do. Making the right first impression also means wowing people with things like the photos and the videos as soon as it hits the market. There's a lot that goes into that. Don't add photos and update the listing as you go. I see that happen with some of these agents that they just want to get the property on the market. They want to get the process started, and then they add photos or video over time. I think it's a big mistake. You really have one shot initially to capture the interest of buyers when that property hits the market for the first time. Because if you think about it, especially in a low inventory market, buyers are watching and waiting like hawks for new property. And when they see that property, they make that decision at that time that they see it for the first time as to whether they're interested or not. Interested enough to come and see it or not, interested enough to make an offer or not. Really, the only way to re-engage them is to change something about the property. Now, I'm not saying you're going to lose them forever if you kind of piece the listing together over time, but it goes against what I know with regard to marketing, which is that the marketing is supposed to be like a really sexy movie trailer that gets you excited about the property. You want to create urgency and you want to create the fear of loss. That's what gets people to fight over each other for your property and bid up the price so that you sell it for top dollar. Now, another thing with regard to, selling luxury real estate, of course, is the marketing and marketing through multiple channels. And I always tell people that I'm in two businesses. I'm in the business, first and foremost, of course, representing my clients to assist them in buying or selling a home. But I'm also in the business of finding people to help buy and sell a home. Any business that is truly effective understands this concept. So as an agent, I need to implement a marketing plan that works based on my previous results. And online marketing is the place to start, but print media and referral networks are also marketing channels an agent should utilize, in my opinion. Ultimately, a luxury home needs exposure. If your agent's plan is just to, work on curb appeal and staging and putting it in the MLS, you might be able to sell it. But if our market has taught us one thing, it's that your home may have difficulty selling even in the best of circumstances. Not every home that hits the market right now is immediately going to sell and get multiple offers. As a seller, you need to hire someone that's going to give you the best shot possible at selling your home, which means laying out a plan to sell your home. The reality is most agents likely have a marketing plan for finding new business, referral networks, expired listings for sell by owners, internet leads, so on and so forth. But what does their personal marketing plan include to help you get your home sold? What specific activities are they going to be responsible for? What are they personally going to pay for? Are they literally going to do anything other than put it in the MLS and wait for other agents to show it? You'd be surprised at what happens behind the scenes with some of these agents. So in my opinion, luxury real estate agents have to be innovative. As long as luxury real estate agents, exhibit exemplary professional behavior, high-end clients should, in my opinion, appreciate that agent's innovative approach to real estate. But it's just like anything else. There has to be a plan to find buyers for that home. Most agents' marketing plans are so reactive in nature. It's, hey, we'll put it in the MLS. Once it goes in the MLS, then it syndicates to all of these other websites like Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com and blah, 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 Redfin. Theoretically, an agent could just put the property into one source, which is the MLS, have it be broadcasted everywhere else, and then just sit back and wait and hope and pray. And that's the marketing plan for a lot of agents. Hey, let's price it right. Let's work on condition. And let's let basically the other agents bring us their buyers. The really effective agents out there understand how to find buyers proactively and market to them proactively. Again, all being done to create urgency for your home. Now, in line with that is also pricing it right. Pricing is incredibly challenging the higher in price you go in our market, because if you are an agent that traditionally sells, lower to middle end properties, and then you're tasked with selling a multi-million-dollar property, one of the questions, of course, is going to be, do they understand the value associated with the upgrades and the finishes in that home? And we could be talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in one direction or the other based on the finishes on a home that's the same size, same acreage, same bedrooms and bathrooms as the one that sold down the street. In other words, agents cannot use the, hey, let's see what has sold in the neighborhood, and let's take all that data and average it out, and this is about that price per square foot of what homes sell for in this neighborhood. That's a very lazy way of pricing property, especially in a luxury market. What's interesting with the luxury market is that really kind of the higher in price a property is, it switches from being a need to a want. People need homes to live in, Do they need a $4 million home versus a $6 million home? Do they need the extra stuff in a home? No, not necessarily. No, but they want it, and they're willing to pay for it so long as the price is right, so long as the value is there. Now, of course, in order to determine whether that value is of interest to the buyer, the agent that you hire has to be a very good agent that understands how to ask questions and engage people in the right way to get that kind of information out of them. In other words, you can sell a home as a new agent. You can, I know agents that their first deal was $1 million plus deal. I was never one of those agents. I started when I was 21. I grinded my way to the top. A lot of long days, a lot of phone calls, a lot of putting myself out there. I didn't sell my first $1 million plus property until I was a few years in the business. But pricing it right is incredibly important. And the other thing that I would say is, being patient with the process. Some people want to sell right now. Some people don't care how long it takes. More often than not, price is more important than timing. So what needs to be understood is that these transactions can and most likely will take a little time. There are only so many buyers out there that can afford to buy a luxury home. Now, we've seen more and more of that as people have been transitioning to Charleston from other areas of the country. But when you decide to make the decision to buy something, it's up to us to grab their attention well enough to create an opportunity for a sale. This goes back to what I was just saying. Even though your home might be, fully renovated and in perfect condition, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sell right away. We need to be in the right place at the right time. We need to be able to create excitement about your home through our marketing efforts. And we need to provide them with quality information quickly so that we can reel them in and close the deal. So there's obviously a lot that goes into selling luxury real estate. If you have a luxury home, if you're considering selling it, I'd invite you to go to our website, look at some of what we've sold so that you can see that we do have the experience in that area. And if you'd like to have a conversation with me about purchasing or selling luxury real estate, then please do give me a call, 843-800-0065, 843-800-0065. Or again, check us out online, listingsincharleston.com. Stick around, folks. When I come back, we're going to talk about as-is sales, what that really means, what you need to know if you're a buyer or a seller facing an as-is sale. So stick around for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here in just a few minutes on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back to more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I always like to take a little bit of time and just say that I appreciate those of you that listen to this program and rely on the information within it so that you can better understand the market and the process associated with buying and selling real estate. This is a show that is designed to educate and inform. And if that means that we can help you with your specific need, maybe you just have a general knowledge question, maybe you need a good contractor, whatever the case might be, we're here to help. Now, if you'd like to reach out to me, my personal number is 843-800-0065, 843-800-0065. Or you can go to our website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. I want to talk about as-is sales. We're seeing more and more of them, and I really want to make sure that you guys understand some of the intricacies with an as-is sale. They're actually a little more complicated than you might think. And I'm going to talk about it from both perspectives. So let's say that, sellers, right? Sellers that think they have a property so hot and that it will sell so fast that they don't need to do any repairs right before putting their home on the market. And after they receive an offer and receive a repair request from a home inspection report. From their perspective, the seller says they want to sell their house as is, and that's it. Basically, take it or leave it, right? And we're seeing more and more of that. Now, buyers like to kind of dangle the carrot of an as-is sale, especially in a multiple offer situation or kind of a heated first round of negotiations. And as a seller, you think, okay, well, I'll give a little bit more on the price of the house than I really want to if the buyer is going to agree to an as-is sale, if I don't have to deal with any of this stuff. Now, the problem is writing as-is on a contract doesn't actually mean anything. And I kind of want to make sure you hear that correctly, so I'll say it again. Simply writing on a contract sold as is really doesn't mean anything. It sets the expectation that the seller won't do any repairs, but it doesn't prevent the buyer from doing a home inspection and backing out of the contract if they don't like the results of the home inspection. So sellers, here's part of the other challenge. Sellers need to report issues that are found during the home inspection. Remember, when you sell a property in the state of South Carolina, you are required to disclose any known present defects. And if you want to get technical, sellers are required to fill out a document called a State of South Carolina Residential Property Condition Disclosure Statement, which is a 5-page document that's designed, again, to disclose any known present defects. It says in bold letters, kind of right at the top of the page, as owner, do you have any actual knowledge of any problems concerning, and then a long list of everything from roof, windows, appliances, HVAC, termite issues, down to environmental contamination of the soil, and everything in between. And by the way, they define a problem as present defects, malfunctions, damages, conditions, or characteristics. So, if the buyer agent is really good at what they do, and they understand that even though you want an as-is sale, they also know you as the seller are going to have to disclose the findings from the inspection report if they include actual current problems, as I kind of previously defined. It's very common in our market right now for buyers to agree to the seller's price, but then try and beat them up when it comes to the home inspection and ask for repairs. So let me just get technical with this for a moment, but once the seller is informed of the problems, they're then going to say something like, you're going to have to disclose these issues anyways, so you might as well consider fixing some of them so that we can move forward with the purchase. They're smart. They're waiting for you, the seller, to get excited enough about the prospect of moving to try and rope you into the idea that this is a done deal. You've told your friends you're moving, you're going house shopping, in some cases you've made plans to move, in some cases you've maybe put another home under contract with a home sale contingency. So now the buyer thinks they have you backed into a corner by saying, hey, I know we agreed to an as-is sale, but there were some items that were found and we're just not okay with this. So, either the seller needs to fix them or we're going to walk away and we get our earnest money back. Now, in our contracts in South Carolina, we have basically 3 different options. We've got repair procedure, due diligence, and as-is. And what I've seen some of these agents try to do is they'll check due diligence, meaning, let's say that there's a 10-day due diligence period on a contract. For the next 10 days, they can get out of that contract or renegotiate it for whatever reason they want. It's basically a get-out-of-jail-free card. Now, they might put something in there that says as is or sold as is, but that doesn't remove their right to terminate the agreement and get their earnest money back or to renegotiate. So it really you haven't gained anything by having somebody just write in as is without checking that box and having the legality of that particular portion of the contract kick in. So this is why writing contracts correctly is so important. Why working with an agent that understands these things is so important. Over half of what we sell on our team was previously listed by another real estate agent. And, I'd say especially in markets like this where the amount of real estate agents that are available, the number of people with licenses in Charleston, I've said this before and I still have to fact check this, but at least as of last year, we were the second most saturated real estate market in the country for agents. So there's a lot of us out there. Training is, you would think, a really hot topic right now because a lot of agents want a lot of it, but there are a lot of brokerages out there that are basically saying if you have a heartbeat and you want to work hard, then come over here, come join our team or come join our brokerage and you can sell real estate here. And there's this big void of information and training and direction, which, on one hand, they got their license and went through all of the educational requirements so that they're not a danger to the public. It doesn't teach anybody how to sell real estate. It just teaches you how to not wind up in jail or have your client wind up in jail or lose a bunch of money is basically what getting a license is. But there are all these situations in which more training is needed. More continuing education is needed in order to elevate the effectiveness and, frankly, reputation of agents in this industry. And so, kind of going back to this scenario, the seller, once they've kind of been put into this position where, hey, they thought they had an as-is sale. They basically worked with an agent that didn't cross their T's and dot their I's. They didn't understand the contract correctly. They thought that by simply writing in as is that they were covered, and that it didn't matter what happened with the home inspection. They were proceeding with the sale anyways. And now they've kind of backed into a corner and said, hey, you know what? I know that we said as is, but there's a bunch of stuff going on with your house. So either you fix it or we walk. Oh, and by the way, if you decide not to fix it and go back on the market, then you have to disclose all the things that are wrong with your house. So you really haven't gained any ground there. So you might as well just work with us to get some of this stuff fixed. That's basically how people are, quote unquote, winning as a buyer in this market. So there's a tip for a buyer for you. If you're a buyer, as a seller, something to be aware of. And so now the seller now needs to consider the idea that they might not be able to sell their home for as much money as they hope to if they go back on the market with a list of problems. They're either going to have to lower their price or fix the issues. Sometimes, and this is a rarity, buyers will overlook a list of repairs if and only if they either love the house and or if they know they're getting a good deal already, which, especially in this market, getting a good deal is a tough thing to accomplish. I'll tell you about the negotiations on my house. The seller didn't want to do any repairs. It was about $2,500 worth of stuff. And at the end of the day, that was fine with us because we knew they regretted selling the home to us at the price that we negotiated when we made the offer. We had literally just finished renovating our previous house. We just put in a new roof and doors and windows, which are that is the most unfun amount of money that you can spend on something. You don't get to enjoy it. What are you going to do? Stare out your new windows? Be like, oh, that's a great view. Love these windows. These are awesome. I mean, not really, right? It's a lot of money and it's not fun spending it. But anyways, we found this home that was a for sale by owner, and my wife showed it to me. So credit to her. I'm trying to get her licensed. But she was like, hey, look at this house. This can't be right. And I was like, wow, no, I mean, it's right. That's what they're asking, but they should be asking a lot more. And it's, I was a buyer at that point. It's not my responsibility as an agent to say, hey, you know what? I'd like to buy your house for what you're asking, but just so you know, you could sell that for, a lot more. I mean, that's obviously, I have my license as, on one hand to protect the public and the representation of buyers and sellers, but it also gives me the upper hand when it comes to hunting deals, looking for investments. And in this case, my own personal home. And so we go under contract at this fantastic price. They're not happy about it because they received an overwhelming amount of interest in the property basically right after it went under contract. And so they're basically kicking themselves for probably not hiring a real estate agent, which would have been the right thing to do because they could have got way more money for the property. But now here we are. We've done the inspection. There's about $2,500 worth of stuff that needs to be done. It was almost as if they were nervous that they were going to refuse to. I was nervous that they were going to refuse to sell the house to us or pull the plug in some way, shape, or form and then try and sell it to somebody else. They were kind of being that difficult with it. And obviously I wouldn't let something like that happen and would have taken legal action in a heartbeat. But anyways, I digress. The point in telling you all of this is that the agent you hire has to understand how to read between the lines, apply real-world experiences to those types of situations, and ultimately protect your best interests as the client. So if that's something you would like more information about, if you are considering buying, selling, or investing in real estate, you want to hire a real estate agent, we love the opportunity to speak with you about that. My number is 843-800-0065, 843-800-0065. Or you can always contact us by going to our website, listingsincharleston.com, or sending me an email, Brian, that's Brian with an I, at brianbeattyteam.com. Stick around, folks, for the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Find Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, folks, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. Reminder, if you want to reach out to me and talk about real estate, plan your move for next year, my number is 843-800-0065. That's 843-800-0065, and always reachable through our website, which has a lot of great content, a lot of things for you to educate yourself on with regard to the process and the market. Watch past versions of the show, find out how much your home is worth, search the MLS, all that great stuff. Listingsincharleston.com. I want to spend the last few minutes and talk about rent-to-own scenarios. Maybe you've got some credit that needs to be improved upon in order to buy a house. But let's just say that for whatever reason, you can't afford to buy a house right now. You've got, poor credit, or you need to work on your credit. You don't have enough of a down payment, so on and so forth. And you see a house listed as rent-to-own. And you get excited. You're not just kind of throwing away money at a rental at this point. You're moving into a house you'll one day own, and maybe a portion of your payment is going toward the equity you have in the home while you're waiting to either save for down payment or improve your credit score. It all sounds great. Well, on these deals, you negotiate up front, so I want you to understand what you're in store for. First of all, there are two types of contracts, a lease option and a lease purchase agreement. You either pay to have the option to buy it, or you legally agree to buy it. So there is no standardized contract for these two types of deals, which is what makes them a little tricky. But they're going to include things like, the monthly rent, maintenance, option money, lease term, closing date, financing, inspections, so on and so forth, just like our kind of standardized South Carolina purchase and sale agreement. But unfortunately, rent-to-own is a lot less regulated. So what are some of the pros and cons? Well, the pro is that you get to lock in a price now in a market with rising prices. You get to avoid competition. You're under contract to buy the house. You're just renting it for a defined period of time. You can still build equity in the property rather than coming to the table with a large down payment to buy it up front. You buy yourself time to improve your credit. Your payments can be used to improve your credit score. A lot of people don't know that. And you don't have to, move into another home. But the cons are that if this is an option, you're just paying to have the option to buy it once you're ready. In other words, a right of first refusal. They've got to offer to sell it to you at a predetermined price before they try to sell it to anybody else. Then you provide them with an option. And that option, that is non-refundable option money. So you have to be sure that at some point in the near future, whatever that predetermined amount of time is that you have that right of first refusal, that you're going to be in a position to be able to buy the house. Of course, another con could be, it's just worth mentioning, that values could go down. The market could shift. Unforeseeable issues have come up before, and they'll at some point in time they'll come up again, and you can't control it or can't fight it. Markets go up and go down. Another con might be that you have to maintain the property yourself. On a lot of these lease to purchases, in return for a portion of your payment going toward the purchase price so that you can build equity, you're responsible for all the maintenance. I've seen people work it into their contracts where you, as the person that's currently renting it, but will one day own it through a rent to own, they'll also throw in taxes and insurance. And obviously utilities are going to be in your name no matter what, but you need to look at the financials to make sure that makes sense. But in a lot of these contracts, they're going to favor the seller. So if you're thinking about doing some sort of alternative financing deal or a rent-to-own scenario, a lease purchase option, that's how I bought my first place right out of college. So we have a lot of success with that. We've got obviously the experience to help navigate you through that. Maybe you've got a son or daughter that wants to buy right now. They're working on some things financially or on their credit, but you want them locked into a house now rather than kind of just watching the cost of everything continue to go up. So if that's something that I can help you with, walk you through, share some resources about, I'd love the opportunity to. Just feel free to reach out to me at 843-800-0065. That's 843-800-0065. Or check us out online at listingsincharleston.com. listings.com. You guys enjoy your weekend, and thanks for listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009.